Yeah, we'll have to listen to my audio for a second because I think I messed it up. Let's see if I'm live yet. Testing 1 2 3.
Testing 1 2 3.
Hope my game has good audio. I decided to stick with Xbox One for another night. Well, I'm having trouble seeing too. Glasses, I think they need really good cleaning. Probably Windex. Windex cleans them the best. I'm probably not going to stay on long. We'll see. I'm going to try to be careful with the faces I make. Specifically with this angle that this camera has to angle. Because I look like a monster. So we'll be careful. See, I can't see myself. If I could see myself, I'd be able to control what I look like. If you've ever seen me on camera, I look silly. But if I'm seeing myself, I hold my face like I'm plastic or something, like I'm some kind of plastic die. Like one time, I had my camera on, a person accused me of laughing at him. It wasn't I was laughing. I was holding a fake smile. And I would sit and literally hold my head a certain way and my mouth a certain way. Because at certain angles, I don't like how I look on camera. I've always been picky about photos. I didn't even let photos be taken of me when I was a kid. And I kind of hate that. Because now I'd like to go back and see what I look like. But there were some few, I'd go hide out in the bathroom when it was time for them to take them. Pretending to take a dump. I think I took her shower and stuff, so we're just gonna go. And then from 1988, one of those years, by the way, my cousin shared a picture, and I was so glad to see it. Because I didn't even know what I looked like back then. Big old tall giant. I look like a big old... In other words, I kind of look like an Incredible Hulk because I was a kid. You could tell I was a kid. In other words, I didn't look like a big man. But I did look like a big man. I sort of like a big grown-up kid. A huge kid. It was silly looking. Because I still look like a kid, but I look like a big old Hulk or something. Huge. Anyway. Like a blowed up giant kid. A giant. That's what I look like. A giant kid. A giant kid. In other words, I look like a kid, but the body doesn't look like a kid. And I was so thrilled to see that picture. Because I wouldn't allow pictures to be taken.
What can the best mechanic in LS do for you?
I always hated cameras. Now I don't think nothing about it. I sit and take pictures of myself all the time. I can be at... Sometimes my hair looks like shit. Because the winds blowed it. It's Friday again, the AM hours. This is the AM show version. It's finally Friday. Like I said, I'll probably stay on for a little bit. Oh, I didn't deposit her money. I like when they turn and start walking a different direction. Rodney Howard Brown was showing back when he was building this pavilion. He had these They acted similar to how these things walk in this game. Like they would walk for a little while, then they would turn around and turn the other direction, and it kind of reminded me of how they are in this video game. It must have been the same kind of ragdoll type of scenario, though it's a different game. It must have been based off the same ragdolls.
What the hell?
That's messed up.
Hello. Hey, what's going on?
Holla holla!
My bad.
I'm gonna hurt her on
Man,
the
these young cats is
radio.
crazy.
That's a little bit David Alco.
How's it going?
I don't want it to.
But you want to hear?
Crap.
I'm gonna tell you, out of all the most offensive albums I've ever listened to, the David Allen Coe offensive album is the only one that's ever bothered me. I got 4 or 5 songs into that thing and I was nauseous. Usually stuff doesn't offend me. It takes a lot to offend me. But that David Allen Coe X-rated album, that's offensive. I'm gonna hurt her on the radio. And I don't remember the rest of the lyrics. My daddy, he loved David Allen Coe. He liked Keith Whitley, David Allen Coe, Alan Jackson. These are some of the stuff my father loved. He'd always make me play these people. I remember the first time he found out I liked Alan Jackson. So a little bit after I got out of the hospital. And he yelled out, "Oh, you and I, finally we like the same kind of music." And so he said, "I never thought that happened. I've been watching Alan for years on TNN.
You fucking idiot.
When his album first come out. Yeah, me and my father, we didn't have the same kind of taste in music. He liked the Grand Ole Opry. You don't know me, I like metal. My mother had this show on. She was sleeping, cheering there. I was listening to it in the background. It was about heavy metal. And they were talking to Slayer. And you know, I heard that guy talking about the God Hates Us All song. I thought, boy, that sure is an offensive title. It was a good album, though. I like that album. But you know, God, he does have things he hates. Now, it's no lie to say that God don't hate some things. But he don't stop that hate at the people. He stops it at the actual people. Now, if you don't never turn around, he hates that. And he's got no forgiveness for that because he paid for it. If you reject it, well, meaning if you reject it. In other words, as long as you accept it, he's got love for you to cover it. But if you reject that, there's nothing he can do about it. And he will hate that. And he still has hate for that. The song ain't a 100% complete lie, but it is sort of a lie. It's sort of a blasphemy. But I love that album. I still remember the first time I heard it. God hates us all! God hates us all! I was thinking the same thing he was thinking. God hates us all! I had this guy. He was on AOL. Boy, he loves Slayer. He's the one who got me into that album. You know what come out on 9/11? It talking about Muslim terrorists and stuff. I mean, it has lines in there about terrorists. And it came out on, I mean, we're talking about it was already pre-scheduled. Already on its way out. They were also talking about the Norwegian death metal. A lot of that shit's real. But then to hear Alice Cooper, he was talking about meeting some of those bands. And he says they walk out and there these, he was thinking, my father had the same experience with Marilyn Manson. Like my daddy, he was watching Marilyn Manson. The people started, hey, ain't nothing to him. He was like the rest of them. I even felt so peaceful with him, I fell asleep, my daddy fell. I said, he ain't no different than any country or rock star I've ever seen in my life. My daddy had seen concerts in his life. They went to see Merle freaking Haggard when he was a kid. And they said Marilyn Manson wasn't no different than the rest of them. I said, I was thinking I was going to be getting see a really bad satanic dude. I said, that's the way they was billing him every night on the news. And I sat back and I thought, they ain't nothing to him. He said, and he really did. After a while, he got about 3 or 4 songs in. He laid back, he put his arms up on his head, and he went to sleep in the chair. He told everybody that. Anytime anybody bring up how bad Marilyn Manson was, it was kind of funny because I got to meet Marilyn Manson's wife. Let's see, how long it was. It was May. It was my mother's birthday. And her birthday happened to fall on Mother's Day that year. And his daddy come out to meet all 3 of us, and he told my mama, you sure do got a beautiful family. He kept telling her that. My daddy died that August. But my daddy, he'd always defend Marilyn Manson after that. He said he wasn't no different than the others. Now, if he'd seen him, I always say this, because he was kind of angrier back then. When we wanted to go see him that February, and that idiot in Atlanta, you know, which all this stuff is probably staged anyway, and I'll have to be careful, that has to be podcast talk. But this idiot in Atlanta bombed a abortion clinic. You know, Marilyn Manson was always known as one of the singers, that's one of the reasons they got mad at him in his lyrics. And me and my sister, we decided we'd skip that one out. We was thinking about getting tickets to it, but we didn't go to that one. But we went to the next one, which was the Alien Tour. You know, the Alien Tour, not the Antichrist Superstar, which I really hate, because Antichrist Superstar was one of my favorite albums. And to think that I would have seen him the very year that we actually started listening to him full time. I mean, I heard him in '95. I didn't get his albums to '97. Like, I already liked Sweet Dreams. Even had a recorded. I had a recorded on it. See, back then, if there was songs I liked and I couldn't get them, or I didn't have access in my club, I would tape them from MTV. I'd tape them on a cassette. He was one of them things I had the cassette on, you know, the bootleg from the video, but it was the audio from the video. And then in '97, when my club got the albums, I got the albums. I got them all at the same time, and that also happened. And she's almost home. But that's almost, it was protesting all the time. It was making the news. At the same time, my father was watching on the news. He was seeing him on the nightly news. I said, I thought he was really going to be really bad. He thought, oh, and my daddy was kind of like that. He liked, indeed, he always used to tell me, Philip, before I die, I want to get into it with a Marine or somebody that served in the military. Or maybe one of them big bad CIA people. He used to say that. Because, you know, he fought all walks of life. And he'd watch them run when they wouldn't back down to them. And those are the type of people he wanted to actually, he literally wanted, in other words, he wouldn't pick fights with people. But he was waiting for, so that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of person my father was. He liked standing up to big badass people. A lot of times they'd stick their tails between their, and run. He's seen that many a times. Indeed, that's what I used to go, what you gonna do to him, Daddy? What you gonna do to him, Daddy? I used to like watching him get a hold of him. But now that created, it was a good thing and a bad thing. Woo! I finally ranked up to 12. It was kind of a good thing because, and a bad thing. Because it makes me not fear nobody. And because I don't have no fear, I don't worry about what they're going to do to me because what you going to do to them, Daddy? You know what I'm saying? And I'm a big old man. But my daddy, he was only 5'9", 5'10", somewhere around there. And before he got heavy, he was a little man. He was like Alex Jones. You know, they talk about Alex Jones being tiny, and now he's blew up and he's a big man. But when he was little, he was a tiny little guy. He was. You see pictures of him. He was a tiny little guy. That was my daddy. He was tiny. But boy, he'd stand up to any of them. So even though I had some issues with my daddy, at the same time, he's always my favorite person. And we did, boy, when I got older, boy, he was mean. I mean, he called me nothing and good for nothing. He did that a little bit when I was a kid. He did do it. Because I liked that Nirvana song. Even in the Jews, I love that song. But I really started having something coming to it about 94, 95, 96. That's when he really started. Good for nothing. Good for nothing. He'd always tell me I was good for nothing. But you know, after I've got to dealing with this world, the more I deal with this world, the more I see where he was going. He was wanting to make me tough. You know, I hear Savage talk about this in this fighter. Like he'd make him go out in the streets, and he was just telling this story just this week on one of his podcasts. He'd make him go get his food, and he played those clips from his books when he would read that, when he'd write that in his books about a spider making. And one time there's this fly that they put in his food or something, and his daddy thought he deliberately done it.
This is a courtesy call from Merryweather Security Consulting. We're expanding our domestic operation and want you to be aware of our exciting new munitions delivery service. Anytime, anywhere, your Second Amendment rights are just a phone call away. Simply dial this number, pay a fee, and one of our agents will deliver ammunition straight to you.
His Second Amendment
rights
rights
will be available shortly, so watch this space.
Yeah, he was telling this story about how his daddy was trying to make him. I think that's what mine was trying to do to me. Because the more I deal with this world today, this world we live in, I see it. Because my fighter, he wouldn't be able to stood it. You know, when they was locking up everything, he would have said, bullshit. That'd have been my daddy. He'd have went, bullshit. He used to go to work sick. Now, there's several times he couldn't. Like that time we saw Foo Fighters. He had to go work with that, but one day he had to actually just lay on the floor and stay out. You know, Dave Grohl took that same flu he took. We went to Nashville. He took the same flu that Dave Grohl took. Dave Grohl actually had to stay back in the freaking hospital that night. Well, obviously my daddy ran into some of the same people. We ran into some of the same people that had it. You know, it was a huge crowd. I mean, that was one of the hugest crowds I've ever seen. Besides Metallica, was Foo Fighters. Metallica, Foo Fighters, and Kid Rock one time. We saw Kid Rock. Boy, he was filled. And then, of course, nothing beat the Rolling Stones. That was the biggest mess I ever seen in my life. Nothing beat the Rolling Stones. And my daddy, he complained about that. I bet people thought he was crazy. And they did a big, very long version of Brown Sugar that night. He was telling everybody. This is about 2 months before he died. That's the last concert he ever seen. June, July. Yeah, it was probably about a month. It probably wasn't even full month. It probably wasn't even full 2 months. He died in early August. Like it was like June 15th, whenever it is in Nashville. We can go look it up. 2015. He come on. He did that old Brown Sugar over and over again. I told him he was doing a medley. I don't care. I got tired of hearing that old Brown Sugar. Brown Sugar! He'd tell everybody. I didn't care about the old Rolling Stones, and I was thinking, I bet everybody thought he was crazy. You know, anybody, a lot of people would have died and seen the Rolling Stones. Of course, me and him was cramped as all hell, and these idiots were attacking him the whole time, and he wanted to attack them back. But I told him, I said, you put your hands on them, they will arrest you.
Hey, man.
He was going to grab my cane, and I'm telling you, he had strength. He had cancer. And I had to keep my whole life from him keeping them from getting that cane. He was going to beat them kids with that cane. Because they kept hitting him. He kept telling them to leave him alone. The more he told them to leave him alone, the worse they got. They were a bunch of black students, and I don't know, I guess they were college students. They looked like college students, they're black kids. And they had a couple of white kids with them. Most of them are black. Why have you arrested? I don't care. I told them to leave me alone. I'm going to get them. I said, well, you're not going to use my cane.
Good God.
He was going to beat the living crap out of them kids with my cane. I had to just put my whole force in that cane. Can you let me know? I'd have went and told the security. They'd have got him. He said, I don't need no security. I'm going to take care of them myself. That's what he told her. I was going to take care of them myself. And I told him, yeah, but you'd have got in trouble. That's just the way my daddy was. He was that way. He didn't ever like them concerts because, you know, he didn't ever go anywhere unless he was packing. You know, they didn't let you take them in there. He didn't like that. That's another thing he didn't like about concerts. Because even when he worked, he packed. Even if they didn't let him pack, he packed. He packed anyway. Even if they told him he couldn't. One of them just put their foot down. He parked his car right by the door. And he kept it right there where he could get to it. He never did go anywhere without his packing. That was another thing he didn't like about the concert scene, because he couldn't protect himself. He didn't like being anywhere where he couldn't protect himself. He never did have to use it. And he was always thankful for that. He told me many times. He said, I've never had to use it, but I always had it with me. Where I was up since I couldn't. And one time they almost got in trouble. When they were up traveling, back in Canada, you know, you couldn't even have guns back then. Well, he had it in the car when he went through Canada. And he said they did search him. He said luckily the guy stopped where it was at. And they said, you're clear, and they let him on through. And he said, I never was happier to get back to the United States after that. Because he was so afraid he was going to get in trouble for it. This is years ago. I mean, we're talking about even before, it either had to be before I was born, or we're talking pre-75. Might have been when I was a baby. You can't ever tell. They did used to travel out west and places like that. But he didn't really mean to. He just let, you know, he left it in the car. He wasn't planning to leave it, but he just knew he was in trouble. Oh, To-Do would really have a fit about that. You hear his crap. If he usually didn't go nowhere unless he was packing or if he couldn't pack. And if he worked for him, he'd pack anyway. He wasn't going to let them keep him in that store where his life would be in danger, because them convenience stores are dangerous. And he just wasn't going to be at the mercy of other people. I'll pull over for a second. I need to check something. So I'm going to pause here. I'll make sure my feed hasn't died on me, because you know it will die on me. It does it all the time. I just want to make sure. Oh, my eyes are dry tonight. Really dry. Let's check another feed. If I've been at these other places, you never can tell. It don't always work. It does sometimes, but not always. Okay, there's my profile. Yes, I am live there, but I don't see no picture. Let's see. Yeah, I'm working. I'm working. This must have lost my feed on Twitch. Can't never tell with this junk. I don't know how I started talking about my fighter tonight, I guess. Because I was thinking about... I know I was talking about music in the beginning. Oh yeah, the Alice Cooper meeting all those death metal people and them being like softies, and he was thinking they was meaner. And my daddy thought the same thing about Marilyn Manson. He actually thought he was going to be seeing a bad dude. And he said, he wasn't no different than any of the other stars I ever seen. And he'd always defend him after that. Always. Anytime that stuff come up, bullshit, my daddy'd say. Bullshit. I don't remember if I told Hugh that story or not. I should have told it to him. He would have probably liked that one. But you know, you only had a short period to talk with him there for a few minutes. I'm pretty sure his daddy would have enjoyed that story. About my, because that's what he was telling me. I mean, oh yeah, I might have did briefly tell him that my fighter always said the same thing. Because he told me, he said, I don't care what they say about my brain. He's a good boy. That's what he told me. He called him my brain, and I loved that. Because I really did know he loved to sing. I don't even think my father ever told me he loved me. I don't remember. He did one time. We didn't go on vacation with him. One of those last years before he died. And he said, he did tell me when he was going out the door. He said, well, it ain't going to feel like vacation without y'all. He did tell me that. I don't think I ever heard him tell me he loved me, though. Like he told my two sisters right when he was dying he loved them. Of course, I wasn't really talking to him. I was kind of keeping my distance. I was mad about it. Don't do that, y'all. Never do that. You mad at somebody and they're dying? Speak. You will forever hold your peace. You will forever hold your peace. Me and him got into a big argument just right before he was diagnosed. Huge. And I was sort of getting over it. But you know, he didn't live much longer after the diagnosis. He was diagnosed on my birthday and dead by August, was it the 7th? So I didn't really get much time to get over it, you see what I'm saying? But if you got those things and you find out somebody's dying, don't let it matter. You know, Rodney always tells people to take the photos of the people and not the junk. Well, I'm telling you not to do that because you forever hold your peace. So it was one with the suitcases, and it's vacation time. Holiday road. Holiday Road. Of course, I know what his problem was. You see, and I actually witnessed him telling this. You know, when he would call me the good for nothing and all that. He really did think that work is what made a man. That was his thinking. And he thought I was good for nothing because I didn't work. And he thought working meant that even if you have to crawl to do it, you still do it. You see what I'm saying? But then I heard him years later, like right before he was dying. I mean, it's probably been about a good 2 years, 3 years before. He used to talk with my cousin on the phone all the time. We went and seen him at Turnbuckle last year or so. Year before, last year, I believe it was last year. He come visit us several times at Turnbuckle. But my daddy used to talk to him all the time, and he told him, well, you know, son, when I was young, I didn't ever see this disabled thing, but now when I see those handicapped parking places, I'm thankful to see them. I said, back then I used to sneer at those. So I kinda know where he was thinking. Oh, I want that red one over there. That's gonna trigger the police. But I guess we'll just have to trigger the police. Fuck that. Cause that's the one I decided, well, it didn't. That's the one I decided I wanted. It was just kind of the way he thought. He really did think I was good for nothing because I couldn't work. So that's another way I've excused those when he used to tell me that. I mean, he'd do it when I was young, but I mean, when I got older and I was disabled, boy, he let it. He didn't spare me. But I think a lot of times he's just trying to make me tough too. That was just the way he thought. That's the way he was brought up. I can't really hate him for that, especially now. I mean, watching these good-for-nothing lazy bums want to sit around because they can get money to be paid to sit at home. And everything going all to shit. I really do see his point. They really are good-for-nothing people out here that are just lazy. You just have to see things through other people's eyes. That's why the Elvis has a song. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. I think it was one of them songs that they would sing during the, when they would do the civil rights. But Elvis had a version of it too. Walk a mile in my shoes. This was the one I had. Walk a mile, because I used to buy Elvis's box sets. I didn't buy his albums too much, but I loved buying them box sets. I bought almost all the box sets. Walk a mile in my shoes. I think there was a set that I didn't get. But I got the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. And then there was a couple of the smaller ones that I didn't get. I got one of the sets of the smaller ones. They made a couple of smaller ones. Then they made the big ones. Boy, I used to like getting them big ones. They had about 5 discs in them. I think that was on his either 60s or 70s. I can't remember exactly which one. It was on one of them. Walk a mile in my shoes. You know, that goes for everything, you know. I noticed something even like, you know, they keep us fighting with each other. You want to know the biggest way to turn a quote-unquote racist around? Communication. They're trying to cut off communication. Did you notice? And it was done from a leftist point of view. There's this lady, she was a Muslim, and she went in there and started hanging around those white supremacists. Well, guess what? They would tell her things like, knowing you makes it hard for me to be a white supremacist because you're so good to us. And eventually it turned them away. Like, even when they broke away from that, they still kept their core ideas, but they quit being racist towards people's skin. You know, that's what it takes. It takes communication. And that's what the Biden administration and all these other people, and I'm going into podcast here, but when they're dividing us, instead of putting us, because that's one of the things when she was undercover with them, or when she was filming videos with them, the things they would tell her is, you kind of make it hard for me to be a white supremacist because you are so nice. It takes communication to turn people around. All stirring up hate does is just make more hate. Like when that idiot went and shot up all them black people. Well, that makes the black people hate white people and vice versa. And it just stirs hate. Hate stirs hate. The best way you reach people is Jesus' way. And it's hard for me to do that too. You know what Jesus told people? If they ask you to go 1 mile, go 2 miles. If they ask you to cope, give you something else also. What was it? Jesus' way works the best. And I don't always agree with that statement. I'm telling you, because there's times I don't want to love the enemy. A blue car. Let's see, she still got her red car over there? Yeah, we'll keep her red car. They want to stir all this hatred. This hate just breeds more hate. But now if you show love, and that's one of my favorite tales out of all that stuff. You know, I don't agree with those old when they do all that stuff. But one of the things I did her, and he looked at her and he even started crying, I believe. And he says, you make it hard for me to hate other people. Well, that's the way it should be. He should feel that way. Because God made us all. You shouldn't only be hating, but if you hate anything, you want to at least hate bad people. Because God made good and bads in all of us. I have to speak to myself on enemies. Because when it comes to enemies, I have a big hurdle with that. Now luckily I got few enemies than I do anything. And you have to cross a certain line for me to just be totally unforgiving towards you. I mean, you have to really do something to me to get there. Which is a good thing. That's a good line to have. Because I shouldn't even have it at all, because God don't have it. You know, He can forgive any of us. He can forgive the worst of us. But me, I don't have that line. But I do have it so thick that you have to really do something to trigger it. And she made it home, and I'm going to take this as an out. I hope my nose ain't running on camera. Can't never tell these paper towels that we got right now. I'll tell you what it smells like. We figured it out. It smells like furniture polish. Now, why the hell would you make paper towels smell like furniture polish? Unless they are for cleaning. I need to go read and see what they're for. I'm going to call it quits tonight. I only stayed on 40 something minutes there. It's either 40 or 49. But I'm going to call it quits. I'll see y'all later. I might try to jump on a little bit tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a busy weekend, so I don't know. Yeah, the best way to turn the racists around is to be good to the racists. Not isolation, and we're going to put you in jail for your thoughts and all this other stuff that they're doing. Oh, by the way, I read the best story. That guy that's what's his attorney general? Some girl walked out of the speech he was making at her graduation. That is the best way to greet this animal. This devil. He's a devil. He's a devil. You can tell by looking. He's a demon. He probably needs to be thrown in jail somewhere as a treasonist. Because he's the real treasonist. He's the one that's against the Constitution. He's going up totally against what he swore an oath to. She walked out on him. That was the best thing you could have done, lady. The best thing you could have done. That schmuck, he deserved it. I'll see y'all next time after I get her out of the shower. I tried not to hold my face so dumb today, but I probably did anyway. Because I can't see myself. All I just see is a little tiny square with my head in it on that telephone. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, I didn't get her out of the shower. I'll put some new clothes on her too for her next time she's out. I'm going to try to do some stuff next time. I did rank her up, thank God. I hope she keeps that rank. I'll go ahead and put an outfit on her. And now I'm going to cut off here, and I'll see y'all next time. Now, if they commit crimes or something and they go out and they kill people or say what they did in the 60s, bomb churches and stuff, throw the book at them. But if it's just hate alone, you can deal with hate by love. That's the best way. That's what Jesus said. You deal with hate by love. You make it hard for them to hate you. Like the little Muslim lady dealing with those racists. She made it hard for them to hate her. That would be my message tonight.